I really hate this book so much. I love you, but I don't love you as much as your siblings. I really have nothing to complain about with this book. Like, I think it was just executed so exceptionally well. This is full on smutty smut. Put your earphones in if you have kids. Things are happening, things make sense. I see things happening in the future. I was like piecing things together. Some of the smut scenes, I was like, did they just use lightning? I have a candle from my sister that smells like old bookshop, and it says dusty tomes and leather-bound books. How incredible is that? Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or wherever it is for you. My name is Ragan. Welcome back to my channel. I talk about fantasy romance and fantasy, and today I don't have a Starbucks. I have Jimmy's iced coffee, caramel flavored. Are we surprised? Anyway, today I am sharing 3 months worth of book reviews for you. I have not posted a review since July, so this is just dedicated to the 15 books that I have read through August, September, and October. If you follow my channel quite frequently, then you will have seen some of these. Others I have never talked about before on my channel, so this is going to be the first time that you'll hear about them. So grab a snack, a drink, settle in, grab your Goodreads so you can add these to your TBR or your wish list if you'd like. I'm going to share all my non-spoiler bookish thoughts and just like what I think of these books. We're going to start with the books that I gave 0 to 1 stars, and we're going to move up to 5 stars. I've never done that before. Usually I just like talk about whatever I want to talk about in the moment, but we're going to save the best for last today. So settle in. I will leave timestamps down below if you want to skip around, and that's it. Let's get started. The first book is one that I picked up as an impulse buy, but when I say that, I also just need to point out the fact that it was sitting on Waterstone's table where they put the books out they like want you to notice, and it was in 4 Waterstones on their tables. So I was like, okay, if it's at every bookstore, then this must be one that people are really loving and reading. So I bought it, and it was The Last Dragon King. I forget the author, I'll pop the title up. It's a fantasy romance book that's the start of a series, and like each standalone fits together in this world. And it's definitely adult, but it was so poorly written, and the plot could have been good if it was written well, but it ended up being just so bad, and I don't remember any of the characters. I remember that I finished the book. I read the whole thing just to like say that I finished a book because it was easily readable, but it was bad, and so I was able to return it and exchange it actually. So I gave this book 0 stars, but 1 star on Goodreads. I don't recommend it. I won't read anything from this author again. I don't know why like it was being promoted so much. I think that sometimes like the fantasy romance genre has become a little bit too, how do I say this? Like, I feel like I keep getting recs for books that like really just aren't written well, and like if it's not written well, I don't want to read it. I don't care that it's fantasy romance. Like, it has to be structurally very sound with a lot of thought put into it, and it just didn't feel like this book had that, and as harsh as that sounds. The next book I DNF'd is one that I'm kind of talking about as well. This is a huge TikTok book. Now, I'm not a book talk girly. I have a TikTok account. I haven't posted on there in probably a year. I like sometimes watch my friends' TikToks and like things that you send me, but I don't really love the book talk world. Like, I am a booksta girly. I love Bookstagram. That's like my little community that I love to be a part of. But everyone was saying on Bookstagram that this was a book talk book, and I was like, okay, well, I haven't heard of it because I don't really go on there. It's a whole other realm to dive into. But it turns out that was true. Everyone was talking about this book, Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and she made like this whole TikTok series of like writing this book. Apparently I didn't follow it. You may have been a part of that, and you may have seen those books. You may have seen those videos, but this is about a girl named Peyton Gray, and this has like trials, and there are those who are ordinary and those with powers, and I made it to page 103 before I DNF'd it. It's not written well. I can see that this is this author's first book, And I don't think that it should be obvious to a reader that this is the first time that you've done something. I mean, obviously you get better with time, but like I was reading this and I was like, this is written very, it almost has like a middle grade structure to it. Like the sentences are very easy to follow. This I hate talking poorly about books, but the thing that really did it in for me was this choice to jump from POV and go back in time. So like for one scene, we're following Peyton, our main protagonist, and we see her for 3 hours go from her home to the market and like everything that happens, and then she bumps into the main guy at the end of the chapter. And instead of switching to the main guy's POV and continuing on with the story, like, oh, I bumped into her and blah, 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 blah. No, the author took us back 3 hours and then made us repeat everything that happened and showed it from his point of view. But it wasn't exciting at all. It was a weird choice. It was a very weird choice. And it did that a couple of times. And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care about this. People say it's kind of Hunger Games-esque. I don't see it. Just not for me. This is one that I will probably give away or donate, to be honest. I need to sip my coffee before we talk about this next book that was a DNF. You're probably thinking that The Last Dragon King was so bad and I returned it that it must mean that it's my most hated book that I've read this year, but that's not the case. It's in fact this one. Deadly Dreams by KJ Sutton, which is book 3 in her Fortuna Sworn series. I got to page 48 before I had to put it down because the visceral anger that I felt was taking a toll on me, and I thought about it like all the time, how much I hated this book. I've never read anything that feels more like a stream of consciousness since like Virginia Woolf and Ulysses. I have never read a fantasy book that literally feels like the author is just writing down absolutely every single plot idea she has in her entire brain and then just putting it into one book. I really hate all the characters. I particularly hate Fortuna Sworn. I think she's the biggest hypocrite I've ever read. I think that the plot is going in a million different directions, and like I saw that in book 2 and I was like, this did not go where I thought it was gonna go. This just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. We meet all these characters for no reason. We go on these side adventures that end up having literally no meaning. There's a love triangle that is not wrapped up. It doesn't make any sense to me. I really hate this book so much. And if you love this series, I am sorry. It's just not for me. For those reasons that I've said, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't want to come onto the internet and just bash books, but I also like need to review them for you and tell you, because I did say that book 1 was one of my favorite books I read this year, and that's true. I loved book 1 so much. But then I kept reading and it's sad. It's sad. Yeah. Okay, so those are the low stars. Let's move on to something positive. Shoot, I forgot. I do have one more. One more book that's a low star. I gave this 2 stars, 1 for finishing it, 1 for taking me back to being 17 again. But it's probably a 1-star book. Like it's not good. And that's Bully by Penelope Douglas. I have a whole reading vlog on it where I read it one day, and it was an experience. It does not live the test of time. I did not like the way that these characters talked about girls. I didn't like the fact that like someone filmed these underage teenagers being intimate and then like posted it around the school, and everyone was like, oh, like that's not really nice, but we're gonna stand up for you. I'm like, someone needs to help this girl. Someone needs to put charges on the person that did that. Like I was like, there's too much going on. There's too much nonsense happening. There's a Fast and Furious moments where they like all buy Ferraris and race around the lake, and I'm just reflecting on the time when I was in high school, and what did we even do? Walked around the mall. that was a time. Moving on. Moving into the books that I gave 3 stars. I don't have any other like really low star books. The next one would be, what is it? I read this as an ebook. Oh, it's You with a View. I'll pop it up on the screen here. This is the first and only contemporary romance book that I have read this year, and it was so good, and I owe it all to my friend on Instagram, so I'll pop her up here on the screen and down below for you to check out. She like reads a lot of contemporary romances, and she was just like raving about this in her stories, and so I bought it on my phone on our flight back from Italy this summer, and it was so cute. I ended up giving it like a 3.5 stars, but I'm not its target audience, so like I think that if you really love contemporary romance, you'll probably give this book a 5 star. It just ended up being too long for me for what it was, but it was just so much fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely would read another book by this author. I really loved the way that their relationship built up. They were kind of like neighbors, or like they'd gone to school together as kids and they grew up, and there's just, I don't know, it was just sweet, but also very realistic at the same time. I enjoyed it. And then I read A Fate of Wrath and Flame by, who wrote this book? Is it Kay Tucker? I'll pop it up on the screen here. I read this fantasy book. It's the first in a trilogy, I believe. The 3rd one just came out. It possibly could have more books in it. I enjoyed this one a lot. Now, I did read this 2 months ago, and I can't really tell you a whole lot about the plot of it. It was a little bit long-winded, and I didn't like the romantic payoff in the end. I don't feel like we got our money's worth. Like, it's a long book, and if I'm going to sit there for 500 pages and finally the characters get together, I'm annoyed when a lot of their relationship building and suddenly they're together is behind closed doors. Like, I want to see those conversations. I want to see that unfolding. I want to see a payoff really of it. But it's a very cool world. It's some cool magic in there. It's well written. I definitely would read it. I definitely will read the 2nd book, and I do think that this might be this author's first work, so there is a difference between like Powerless and something like this that I didn't know that this was this author's first work, other than maybe being a little bit too long and wordy. Okay, we've got some 4 stars now, into the juicy good stuff, the stuff I love to talk about. First up, we have one that's been on my wish list for a very long time, so shout out to Christian, my husband, for buying me this book. It's House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein, and I really loved this. I also love that there's art, and there's like a really good map, and there's photos of the characters, if I can find them. Right, so good. I loved it. This is set in a Venetian-inspired fantasy world, so very colorful and cool. She lives on a canal. Her name is Fallon, and is her name Fallon? Let me just double check. I think her name is Fallon. It's been a minute. Yeah, her name is Fallon. Completely forgot her name. But this is so cool because it's about a girl named Fallon, and she is like half fae, half human, and the fae rule society, and her best friend, who she's known all growing up throughout her whole life, is the prince, and he is just the best to her. She loves him, she's been in love with him, but she doesn't see that potentially he just like keeps her around because he does love her, and she is his best friend as well, but like he's also the prince, and he's never gonna marry her. Like, he's never gonna take her out of her impoverished little world and bring her up to his level. It just wouldn't be accepted in society, and she doesn't see that. But there's an oracle who prophesizes that she will be queen, and so she's like, I'm gonna be queen no matter what anyone says. And so she sets out on a journey to find these items and bring about some change into her world, and then it goes from there. It is so good. If you love fantasy romance, then please do check this out. The only reason it didn't get 5 stars for me is because at the end we didn't see enough of another character that becomes important, and I wanted more of that character, but I just know that book 2 and beyond, I think I'm gonna really love, and this is just a great foundational start to a book. Very cool. And it's also has another like language, like she's made up a couple languages in here, which is interesting, and I always like seeing that in books when authors get really creative, so definitely recommend this one. Then we have Jennifer L. Armentrout's new book, Fall of Ruin and Wrath. I hate the name of this because it sounds too much like Fate of Wrath and Ruin, which I just talked about. So similar. But this was very cool. It also has a very good map. This is the Waterstones exclusive edition. This is a very steamy book, and I thought it would have vampires in it, but it doesn't. But it does have like a race of beings or people, however you want to describe them, that are like in a sense immortal, and they do feed on people, but they feed on like pleasure and people's happiness and joy. So like they're kind of like vampires, but like not like really, you know. It's about a courtesan who has magical like powers and stuff, but she has to remain hidden for her own protection. So she hides as the Baron of Archwood's courtesan, but then like a prince comes into play and there are monsters, and like it's a really fun start to a fantasy romance series. I highly recommend it. Just like go into it reading it, don't take it too seriously, just enjoy the fun JLA brings to you. I don't want to like give you any more than what I just give you, like monsters, princes, feeding off pleasure, courtesan, magic. Read it. Wow, Ragan, you were so good at describing books. So good. All right, we have come to the next book that should have been 5 stars. It's my #1 most anticipated book of 2023, and it didn't quite deliver. Okay, here we go. We have come to A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. Oh, it pains me. Oh, how it pains me and wounds my heart and soul and gut that this did not leave an overwhelming feeling of pure bliss. And I think I'm being harsh in a sense because I love this book and I love this world and these characters, but I just don't think that it was wrapped up to the exceptional degree that I have come to expect and know from this author. It feels, and this is just my opinion, feel free to disagree with me in the comments, I won't be offended. But it feels to me like Stephanie Garber didn't quite know or have it planned in her head how she wanted things to end. And it kind of shows. Like, this would have been, in my opinion, a very good 3rd installment in a quartet. And so much of what happened in this book could have been elongated. We could have explored the characters more. There are so many characters that become very important very quickly, and we don't get enough backstory on, you know, Jack. And then there's also a very odd choice of point of view. Now, as this book says on the back, may the best villain win. So I'm not going to spoil anything for you by saying this, but when I was reading the first 2 installments for this book, down here, The Ballad of Never After and Once Upon a Broken Heart, I never ever saw it as a love triangle, ever. It's not a love triangle. There was one guy who is an anti-hero and he's a love interest, and everyone else is just there to cause conflict and confusion and drag the plot forward. But when this book was being marketed over the last year, it was all about like Apollo or Jax, which one's gonna win? And I was like, what do you mean who's gonna win? It's gonna be Jax. Apollo, I don't even remember what was his point? What did he do? I don't even remember. Apollo who? And then she put Apollo's point of view almost every other chapter. And we got like 3 or 4 chapters with Jax's point of view. And that was it. And I think what happened, from talking with several of you on Instagram and YouTube and avidly and actively following Stephanie Garber and Hodder and Stoughton, the publishing date was pushed back for this. And there's a rumor that's gone around that that only happened because she originally did not include Jax's point of view in her manuscript, and her publishing house or editor or whatever strongly recommended that she did for fans, and then that was a change that was made. So when I read it, like it was feeling like an afterthought, and then things started to make sense, and I was like, oh, this makes sense, because I remember last year I had messaged, I think it was Brittany from Brittany Allen's channel, who I talk about all the time. So Brittany, if you're watching this, hi, hello. I'm pretty sure that I messaged Brittany and was like, oh, Stephanie Garber says that there's going to be a second point of view in her third book, but it's not Jax. And I was like, who could it possibly be? And I think she said, I'm gonna have to go through and see if I can find receipts for this conversation that I'm saying in my head, because I think this happened. She said, oh, it must be Apollo. And I was like, why would it be Apollo? Why is Apollo important? Anyway, this is a long-winded review of why I didn't give this book 5 stars, because it just felt not as good as it should have been. But I still love it, and it's still one of my favorite series of all time. Like, I clearly have so many Stephanie Garber books down here. I have 2 full shelves, and I know I will buy like 3 more editions of this book, and I will do a reread of the whole trilogy, and I'll hopefully will love it more when I read the books back to back to back and not every year, for 3 years. But 4 stars. I love you, but I don't love you as much as your siblings. Okay, enough of the ranting. I have 6 more books to talk about, and they're all 5 stars. Only joy and happiness from here to the end of the video, if you're still with me and you're not annoyed at all of my negative kind of talk about these books. In no particular order, just all 5 stars. I have The Broken Blade by Melissa Blair. I've talked about this a few times on my channel. So good. If you're looking for something that feels Lord of the Rings-esque, I recommend this in setting. The Fae and the elves are similar to what you would see in a Lord of the Rings. She is an assassin for the king, and it's just, I love an assassin story. Basically, I love an assassin story. And this one's done very well, and it's written for adults, and she's a grown-ass woman, and I appreciate that in this book. She's not 17 years old, so it's just really good. Check it out. I enjoyed it. Then we have one that just made my heart melt. I expected to enjoy it, but I didn't expect it to love it this much, and it's written beautifully. I really have nothing to complain about with this book. I think it was just executed so exceptionally well, and that would be Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and I'm sure you've seen this book around a lot. This is the Fairy Loot edition. I have some character art and tarot cards. I loved this. This is set in what looks like World War II, but it's not. It's a fantasy world. There is a war going on between the gods, and so it kind of blends in World War II with almost Greek mythology, but it's not Greek gods, if you understand what I'm saying. And there's magical typewriters, and they fall in love through writing letters, and it was done so well. And the ending was so good. So book 2, which I believe is the conclusion, comes out in December, and I can't wait for it. Then we have a novella by Teresa Broadbent, which is 6 Scorched Roses. So I've been hearing everyone saying that it's Carissa Broadbent. People have been correcting me, but on her website, when I first looked her up, it said that her name is pronounced like Teresa, but with a C. So to me, that's Teresa. I think I'm saying it right. So anyway, this is a novella that's set in her Crowns of Nyaxia world, and I've not read that series, but it's her Serpent and the Wings of Night series, which I'm desperate to read. So while this book works as a novella between a couple of the books in the middle of the series, you can read it there, you can start and read it at the beginning, you can skip this book entirely, you can read it at the end, and it also fits in another series of standalone books that she's written with other authors, I think, as well. So she's written this in 4 different ways, and it's done so well. It's a enemies to lovers fantasy romance novella, has vampires in it. It's about a girl who's very much a scientist, and she's dying and trying to save herself and her family, and it's just This author's so good at being able to create an entire world, an entire character arc, 2 character arcs with growth and development and love and interest in such a short time. I mean, this book is 188 page, no, that's her author's note. This book is 183 pages long. Brilliant, I loved it. Check it out. Then we have my second most anticipated book for the year. I loved it. This is full on smutty smut with devils and a whole lot of debauchery. And that would be Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. She's a little bit thick. I really enjoyed this book. This is from Waterstones. Got the double-headed wolf on here. It was just so fun. You're following Prince Envy, who's one of the 7 princes of hell, and this is his love story with Camilla, who is an artist, and it's so much fun. You cannot read this series without reading the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy beforehand. Don't do it. Don't try to do it. Don't say that I told you to do it. You have to read the trilogy first. Otherwise, you're going to go in here and be like, this makes no sense. Please read it. You do see some characters from the prior series to this. It really just feels like a continuation. It doesn't feel like it's like totally different. And I believe that we're getting a book for each prince at least, which is what I hope is true. So much fun. So dirty though. Like, put your earphones in if you have kids. The next book is a reread, and of course I'm gonna give it 5 stars. It's one of my all-time favorite books I've ever read in my entire life, and it gets better and better each time I read it. And it's even better this time round because I've read every single Sarah J. Maas book, and if you know, you know. So when I went back to read this one, I was like, things are happening, things make sense. I see things happening in the future. I was like piecing things together in my my brain, theorizing, and that would be A Court of Mist and Fury. Oh, I just love Feyre's relationship in this book and the way that her man just like gives her what she needs, and even though it's to his own detriment and like it's so painful for him, he helps her so much. I loved it. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it so much. This is my original copy, the old covers. And then we have the last book, which I still have not put up my reading vlog of because honestly I'm just kind of scared to edit it. It's gonna be so big, and I think I've lost some of the footage, so I don't know. It's a headache to me, but I will make it. And then I am anticipating making a theory video for all of us who have read this book and are waiting for the 3rd book to come out in January, and that would be House of Sky and Breath. And I've also read all the bonus chapters. This book has been my favorite book of the year. It is everything. It is so good, and there's some wild shit that happened in this book. Stuff that I literally highlighted because this is my copy that I read. I annotated this whole thing that's literally so long, and I highlighted some of the smut scenes. I was like, did they just use lightning? Was there just some zapping going on? There's some crazy shit that happens. I loved it. I loved the ending. I will tell you though, while the ending did surprise me, I was spoiled for it. I was spoiled for it on Instagram. I hate everyone. I hate everyone who posts things and doesn't give warnings. Don't do it. Don't be one of those people. Don't be one of those people. It was fan art, and I'm still bitter about it, but I still didn't like know if it was gonna happen. I just like had it in my head. I was like, oh, maybe this fan is just like wishful thinking and they're gonna create this art. But then like, no, it happened, and I'm bitter that I was spoiled for it. I was in like running around the house telling Christian like, no, you don't understand. Like, you don't understand like how exciting this is. Like, it's so exciting. So book 3 is coming. Yeah, I before I read this book, I was watching some booktubers I really love, and they like hated this installment of it, and I don't think they liked the surprise at the end, but I'm just like, oh, how can you not like the surprise at the end? It's everything. It's everything. I just, oh gosh, I have no words. I have no words. Did I talk about all the books I was supposed to talk about? Let me check Goodreads. So those are the books that I've read in the last 3 months. Do let me know down below what your thoughts are, if you've read any of these books, if any of them sound good to you, or if you agree or disagree with my opinions. There's no shame in disagreeing, it's absolutely fine. If you made it to the end of this video, do drop an envelope emoji down below in honor of Divine Rivals, because I loved that book. And I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.